Got my friend Mr. Billy Campbell here with me today. How's it going today, Billy?
Fantastic. Very thankful for the opportunity to share the time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making the time. It's good to connect over the internet waves here from Pennsylvania to you in Texas today.
I am, yes, sir. I've tried not to be anywhere else lately, to be honest with you. We spend a great deal traveling, of course, during duck season. And after duck season, the Veterans Weekend in one of our neighbor states wasn't until February 9th, and then NWTF. So I didn't get home to the middle of February, and just kind of been enjoying catching up with a nap here and there, I guess you could say. But the weather's beautiful. Been doing a little fishing. Dennis is actually chasing Osceola in Florida. I skipped out on that, just catching up here around the house. So I am in East Texas. Weather's nice, and it's good to be home.
Yeah, I bet, that season we tend to miss it, but truth be told, it's kind of nice to sleep in a little bit here and there and get caught up on stuff after that grind.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Did you
So
do
how did
the?
your season? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Did you do the that big Pennsylvania show? Great. What is it?
I did. I went up for a couple days and hung out with George Parker at the Bluebird Waterfowl booth, but I didn't do the whole thing.
I
That's
don't
like
blame you. It's like forever.
12 or 14 days or something crazy.
It is crazy. A lot of traffic. I've been a couple times. Always enjoyed my time there. Great people.
Yeah.
Speaking of George, boy, he's a great dude, isn't he?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I seen you guys have been working with him, and I said, man, I got to get a hold of Billy and get him on the show because it's something we got in common for sure. One of many things.
Yes, sir. I believe that. I appreciate that again. Yeah, George. Uh, he and I've been blessed to have opportunity to have conversations with him since he got this thing going, and he's a very unique individual. Boy, he's fired up. He's got a passion for doing some creative things, and it's been fun to watch his journey for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got a head for business and a head for uh, really coming up with some unique ideas.
Yes, sir.
So, how did your season shake out this year? Were you pretty happy with it?
In all honesty, Brian, any season that we get the opportunity to get outdoors and enjoy God's great creation and get after mallard ducks is a good one. We've learned at our older age to we talk. It's not just talk either. We do enjoy the journey and all the opportunities, friendships, relationships that it provides to be out doing that. As far as numbers go, our season started way up here and just kind of went like that.
Mm.
It was we hadn't been to Canada in many years, well before COVID, and I had some friends that had been doing some guiding stuff up there, and we decided to reconnect and get up there and finally take an opportunity to share that time. Wanted to try that since we missed out on the South Dakota draw again this year. So we started in Canada and I did really well. Had a great time. They're good dudes up there, and then we actually came back here we had to race back to Texas for our opener and did really well here for that opener and slid over to Arkansas and enjoyed their opener and did really well over there. And then it just kind of was hit and miss, really, numbers wise for us. We had a lot of challenges. The last couple of years, a lot of guys I talk with, we talk about chasing January mallards in
Hmm.
November. And it
Right.
seems like a lot of biologists I have the opportunity to discuss that with. They feel like the mallard duck is going the way of the white goose. They're pursued so heavily in these public areas that they're just getting sharper and sharper. And that may be the case, but the last couple of years we certainly experienced uh, tougher hunting as far as the numbers go. Now we had some good days late, and but overall, I'd have to say, we heard people struggle in the last few years. We haven't experienced that really, but we did this year. It was a fight for us all year long.
Yeah, that seems to be a common theme. A lot of my southern friends have struggled. What do you think the reasoning behind that is, or multiple reasons?
Y'all ain't shooting at them enough. I, th- I think y'all need to shoot more, and they need to extend all you guys' seasons up north. So you
Making them
just
too comfortable up here.
keep pushing them. I got a buddy, Brian, in South Dakota. He actually is in Minnesota. Really good guy, and he's been fortunate enough to catch that South Dakota draw quite frequently. And years that we can't go, he sends me videos all through December and January of all the birds up there in those areas. And I don't mean you probably saw there was a viral video. I'm not sure who it came from, but it was a video of all the ducks on the Missouri when everything was froze up.
Yeah,
I don't know if you caught that or not. I'm
sure
sorry,
did.
I don't know who shared that, but I did see that, and he sends me stuff. He's been sending me stuff like that for years. You know that that's not anything new, in my opinion.
Right.
Uh, but it seems to be it does seem to be happening more. And I just say that's just my perspective because the numbers that we see later in the year used to be here in Texas. You could really start getting on them middle of December and stay on them through the course of the end of the season. And I'm not sure that's the case so much anymore. It's a lot of that hit and miss stuff, and just the images and videos that he sends me of all the ducks that are still hanging out up north. And
Mm,
I don't, I'm not a super sharp guy. I couldn't tell you why that is exactly, but I know that when a lot of those seasons are ending, early December, those ducks, if they don't get the right weather, they really don't have a lot of reason to move. So we're just
sure.
sitting down here south, just kind of waiting, enjoying waiting, but we're waiting.
Yeah. So as far as your season this year, is it kind of average, or did you do a little better or a little worse than normal?
Below average for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, and we don't. I used to keep a log, and I could tell you exactly
Right.
herd numbers, conditions, breeds, whatever. And I feel like for me, kind of being partially OCD, it took away from my enjoying the experience more and made me kind of focus. And not only that, but there were days that I might say, no, I'm not going today because in these conditions, on this time, the last 3 years, we haven't done very well. So there's really no need to go. And you never really know. So I felt like I might be missing the boat on so I threw all that stuff out the window, man, and just didn't want to keep up with it anymore. And I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is, kill him or not. And it just I think we had figured out it had been, I don't know, 15, 17 years since I've been skunked 3 days in a row. Best we
Mm,
can remember. And I experienced that this year. I had 3 days in a row in different locations where we had scouted and found birds, uh, and just didn't pull the trigger. And it had been a long time, and it happens to all of us.
sure.
But to have 3 days in a row consecutively where we were unable to make an adjustment to to be successful, um, in harvesting a mallard duck, that was whew, that was hitting you over the head with a stick is what that was. So,
Yeah.
just when you ask average up or down from average, I would have to say that the course of our year, it numbers wise, it was absolutely below average.
Mm. Well, I want to circle back around and dive into that a little deeper, but I'm sure there's not too many people following me that haven't heard of you. But if you wouldn't mind, just do a quick intro and
For
you know
sure, yeah. Sorry about that. Get carried
That's
away. I
okay.
love talking ducks,
No.
Brian. I love it. My name's Billy Campbell. I'm semi-retired for all practical purposes. I was in marketing here in East Texas for more than 30 years, and Dennis and I, uh, aka Dr. Duck, began hunting together. Neither one of us had waterfowl hunted. We both grew up outdoors. I was primarily squirrel and deer. Dennis was a lot of varmints, dogs, big coon hunter, of course, deer, and other things. But neither one of us had ever waterfowl hunted. So we had a friend introduce us to each other more than 30 years ago, and we kind of learned the ins and outs on our own. Didn't have anybody in our family. I lost my dad in an early age. His dad wasn't a great outdoorsman. His granddad had brought him up. So we didn't have anyone in the waterfowl world really show us how to do that. So we began, both of us poor folk, really, just these Texas rednecks, and didn't have access to nice, private areas that held a lot of birds. So we cut our teeth learning to hunt ducks here in East Texas, and found some success after, many years of getting our tail whooped, just like everybody else when they get into it. And back then we didn't have the cool resources we do now with Google Maps, and we'd have to go to
Oh
the
yeah.
fishing store and buy lake maps and figure out everything on your own. But it was a good practice for us, and we learned to find success, and then started branching out and spending our vacation time and what time we could kind of getting to neighbor states. Here in East Texas, we're 2 or 3 hours from Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma. So, within 4 to 7 hours, we can be in a really good area in a couple different flyways. So we're in a great spot, and we've just been hunting together ever since. And over the course of that time, when social media came around with my marketing background, we thought it was fun, and plus we weren't very good at taking pictures and saving memories. So social media provided a platform where you could post a photo, and I'm pretty sure Dennis lost about 2 phones a year with all the photos he had on. So this provided him an opportunity to keep those memories. So we started having some fun and posting some stuff up, and had a gentleman, Ben Potter from California, reach out and want to document our journey. This was, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years ago. And we thought it'd be fun, and he came out and did that. And it kind of sparked an interest in what we did, which we did. And there wasn't a thought at the time about what we could do with it, or why we would do it. But very quickly we realized, how cool would it be to be able to highlight the efforts of the average public land duck hunter. Um,
Right.
all the shows that I watched growing up, any show that I seemed to find that was available, it was always uh, celebrity types hunting private property that you or I would never have access to. Most of
For
us
sure.
wouldn't. And we thought, man, we need to highlight the work that goes into these guys that hunt the same grounds that everybody else on the planet hunts. And that's what we did, and hit a little lick with it, and enjoy trying to share a message with others with the Dr. Duck platform that essentially said, we believe in Jesus and his message, and believe that we should all love our neighbor. And it seems like there's a lot of tail whoopings going on in the public land community. And we thought maybe we could have some impact there. And we talk and push and promote enjoying the journey, um, kind of enjoying everything that you do out there. It's just not about the numbers. And while we're out there, we should be respectful of each other and all enjoy our time and work together versus against each other on public land. And
Absolutely.
we do that through our podcast. We have a waterfowl podcast as well. It's centered on public land. We have a YouTube channel, uh, and then we have kind of tinkered in the outdoor equipment area through our website, and we're bringing some of that stuff back this year, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so we've got 30 years plus together under our belt, and just enjoy our time traveling and sharing the message that we could be doing a better job of working together through the YouTube and podcast platforms. I drug
So,
that one out a while, didn't I?
no, that's great. That's the kind of guests I like. So, were you hunting as many days back then when you first started, or has your traveling and hunting days increased significantly since then?
Definitely increased.
Yeah.
I would have. Dennis was employed for someone else at that time, and like I said, I had a career in marketing, which later led me to managing people.
Mm.
So later in my life, when my kids were getting older, I did have opportunities to come in and out of the office as I got into management. So, but you're limited to your number of vacation days when you're working for the
Sure.
man. So,
Oh, yeah.
but Dennis and I, we both had families that understood our passion for the outdoors. So we would say the majority of that time up for duck season, and stack a lot of Thursdays and Fridays or Mondays off, and try and wrap days around the weekend. And that way we could get a little further from home while hunting here, right here where I'm at. We've got a couple lakes that were very, very good 20, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Not the case so much anymore.
Mm.
A lot of those newer lakes that still had trees around it, as water changes, timber dies off, conditions change, population grows, water is not what it used to be. Uh, and again, the ducks being further north more consistently has created a situation where to find success in numbers, we need to travel more. And thankfully, now Dennis owns his own air conditioning company, and he's a great group of people that have worked for him a very long time. He's very good to his people, and that allows him a lot of freedom during hunting season. And then again, me being kind of retired, uh, I too have a very flexible schedule now. So we used to hunt. It would be every weekend during duck season, and 3 to 4 weeks of vacation time every year. So we'd be hunting 30, 45 days for sure.
Okay.
Uh, now, now it's up 70 plus probably with traveling and getting to start earlier up north.
Right.
Some less, some more a little bit, but definitely more freedom to travel, and very thankful for that. And like you mentioned earlier, though, it does it climbs on you and provides a need for a long nap come February.
That's for sure. So 30 years ago, you said the lakes around you were a lot better, more productive. What kind of species were you seeing, and numbers wise? What did that kind of look like back then?
We've all, Dennis. He's kind of, I laugh and call him a mallard purist. He's always been that guy. You could have a group of ducks work, and odds are he's not going to shoot if they're not mallards. There have been hunts that are different, but he's just he enjoys, as do I. Uh, when your ducks are concerned, a mallard is just more responsive, more vocal. It's a good back and forth communication. It's a fun game to play, trying to
For
trick
sure.
those birds. So that has always been our primary species. And
Okay.
30 years ago, I would say these lakes around here held a lot of that species. They held a lot of gray ducks. We're a great area for teal. We've got some good diver lakes too. Never really been our thing. The open water thing's just,
Hmm.
I like to have my feet on the ground and shallow cover if I can get that way. And
Right.
we found those birds getting pushed back probably further and further into more secluded areas, which have removed a lot of those ducks off of more these lakes that were more popular 30 years ago. So you can still find success there for sure, and we keep our eyes on them when we're home, and occasionally visit, and we still do a lot of WMAs in this area. Just not so much around the big local lakes as we used to.
Okay. Are you still primarily focusing on public land, or are you guys mixing some private in with that?
Not very much. We try and take a duck vacation, we call it every year, where we get to
Hmm.
sleep in till 5 and get a breakfast, and we would we would take that trip once a year and bring our families with us. Haven't done that last few years. Primarily, everything we do is public. Occasionally, we'll get an invite from some folks we work with, some of that nature, and we feel it's always, again, we talk a lot about relationships, so it's always good to share that time, and obviously some great opportunities with private. But up north, we spend a lot of time on private asking permission. That's primarily the way to go, as you're well aware. Uh, Down
Sure.
south, those opportunities are far and few between. With the popularity of deer hunting here and the rareness of a good body of water holding ducks, those things get locked up very easily down here and hard to get your hands on. So public is still the best option for us down here, and primarily what we do. Outside of some permission based stuff up north, everything we did down here last several years, it usually is public.
Okay. So, do you have a handful of um, techniques that you take with you everywhere you go, or do you kind of just let the area and the birds tell you how you're going to hunt them?
It's a good question. Um, we probably historically start very simple. I think that the majority of the work playing that game is done finding the birds. If you find the birds in the right place, it doesn't take a whole lot to make that situation work, as you're well aware of, I'm sure.
Hmm.
If you're on the X, all you got to do is make sure they don't find you.
Right.
So simple is first. Uh, the other side of that is being on public ground. You got to find them in an area that ain't a lot of other people in, because when you add all those other people to the mix, it changes the game completely. So, a lot of people have messaged me over the years and said, Mr. Campbell, man, I found all these mallards sitting in this hole, and we waited till Saturday to hunt them, and we got the hole, and everything was great, and they never showed up. Well, you never know, especially on a weekend, how many people are shooting ducks in between you and where them ducks came from. Or maybe the day you found them, somebody was shooting at them somewhere else and they was just resting there. I mean, there's a whole lot of other things going on when you add other people to the mix,
Yeah.
which you're always going to have in the mix on public
Sure.
ground, of course. So in those situations, we carry we carry about everything you can carry. We always have jerk rigs in the boat in our bag, and you mentioned George. That's something that we added to our tool bag this year.
Hmm.
Uh, we've never been big mojo folks. We use them a lot up north, but by the time those birds get down here, that's not something we do a lot of. We will use them early in the year, but after that, um, not so much. Really, motion, uh, having the opportunity to create something a little different, kind of like you said, uh, from everybody else around you, can
Right.
certainly add some opportunity for success. But again, we like to start as basic as we can, and if we can find an X, find it away from a ton of people, especially here in this area, which is not terribly hard to do still. Um, all we got to do is make sure we're concealed.
Sure.
And I mean, a lot of days you don't even have to hit the call much if you're in the right spot. So
No
we
doubt.
try and make that the focus of being successful, being in the right spot at the right time and not getting busted.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of the reason why I asked that, because when you're freelancing, especially when you're traveling, like you mentioned, you can only take so much stuff with you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's why I was just kind of curious if you guys kind of focused on, certain types of water, if you're taking a boat with you, um, just, you know, like a handful of techniques? Because I get that question all the time. Like, well, how do you know what to take? It's like, well, you just take what you can and hope what you have works, or else you're going to have to, find somebody that might have something different, or maybe stop at a Cabela's or something.
You're absolutely right. When we go up north, we'll carry a trailer and we have a lot of room in there. When we get down south, we are pulling boats, not trailers. And you're well aware, you're going to be hunting water down here. And we keep a big duffel bag in our boat, in one of the boats. We carry two boats, enables us to split up, and ain't good for the pocketbook, but
Right.
it
Right.
helps having two guys that can run around and try and find birds. And one of those boats will have a big duffel bag in that has a good collection of everything we think we'll need. We can pretty much get away. A lot of these guys have gotten good at packing that stuff up. I mean, like George's deal, you can get four of those things in one little bitty box.
Oh yeah.
Fits well in that bag with mojos and a few sets of wings. So
Hmm.
uh, we'll carry that duffel bag everywhere we go. We have a little. I see your sweatshirt. I'm a huge fan of their little jerk rigs in the little
Oh yeah.
pouches.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. Both of us have one of those in our bags at all times, and we work with a Heyday, and they had a bigger jerk rig situation, and we'll keep one of those in our dry box in our boat. Jerk rigs are the biggest thing, and we'll add things in and out, some new things that become available that work well, and some others not so well. There's been a lot of things that we had to have over the years that we realized really didn't have much impact at all. And we get away from that stuff, but it enables you to make more room for what you use. It does work for
Yeah.
sure.
Have you ever used any of those automated systems for the jerk rig, or somebody you have like a designated guy pulling it all the time? I seem to always be the guy that ends up having to pull it, maybe because my calling's bad or something.
Well, no, it ain't your calling. You gotta have a special guy for that.
That's
And
true.
I mean, I'm gonna give you props. I ain't ever even hunted with you, Brian, but I'm gonna give you props right now because everybody want to beat on that guy because he's the designated puller.
Uh
But
huh.
the truth is, he the best one of the bunch at probably seeing them, and he's always on point. Last thing, how many times you heard somebody holler at that guy, why wasn't the jerk rig moving?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to find that one guy that's always going to be moving when birds are in the air. And we do have a guy, when every time we go to one of our neighboring states, we got a guy that lives over there. He's a biologist, wonderful young man, and nobody even asks. He is that guy, and that jerk rig is always going to be working when ducks are in the air. Uh, but yes, sir, we have tried some of those. We've connected. I won't remember the names of these things, but there's a box that you can put on a post or a tree, strap around a tree, and you
Yeah.
can pull a whole spreader. And you know what? They work great. They're super cool. We got one this year we really liked. Unfortunately, Dennis is very forgetful, and he was in charge of that day and left it strapped to that tree. It wasn't there when he went back. So, uh, and that's kind of the thing with those deals is you got to remember to pick them up if you're putting them out. And there can be different pieces, and the weather gets cold, and hooking them up and keeping them organized and making sure you have room for them. That's all a different ball game. And I've found that a lot of duck hunters are very organized, very strategic, uh, very focused on the mission at hand, if you will, and very good at keeping a lot of that together. That Dennis and I don't fall into that category very well. So uh, we've left a lot of stuff probably and not kept it organized, and we break a lot of stuff as all duck hunters do. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you can always trust that guy pulling on that string. There ain't a lot to hook up. There ain't much to leave, and and you can always count on it moving as long as that old boy's, as long as you feeding him biscuits, everything's good.
So we talk about all the stuff that we're taking out there. Kind of talk about when you transitioned into starting to have cameramen following you around. What kind of challenges did that bring, and how did you guys meet those challenges for having an extra person or two and all that extra equipment trying to get it hid?
Yeah, in all honesty, and this is, I mean, it's 100% honest. We have been so blessed with some great young men on the camera. Ben, who was the first, is obviously an incredible outdoorsman and was a duck hunter before he's a camera guy. Just understood it, and we've been lucky enough to be going down this road, and we've made several changes. We 3 or 4 years in a row we were working with there's a company that was producing camera guys through an internship program, and we were grabbing those right out of that program. And we kind of have a joke. Uh, we can't keep them, but the joke is really if you can work with Dennis and I over the course of a full season, you can work anywhere. That's that is a fact. And people who we've lost these guys to really good opportunities. A couple of went to work for Realtree. One started his own company. I mean, they've really gone on to do some great things.
Yeah,
And it's not that Dennis and I are hard necessarily. These young men come in with great passion for the outdoors. They understand, even the ones that hadn't duck hunted, they've done some type of hunting, and they understand the importance of being concealed. Uh, they're good folks, so they want to be successful and want to work alongside you and learn as much as they can. So, man, we've been lucky in that area. So it's we haven't had a lot of challenges with that.
that's good.
It's not to say you're not going to get busted once in a while.
Sure.
Uh, and the gear is certainly another aspect. I've seen cameras get dropped, uh, seen them get shot. I've seen lenses get run over. Dennis backed up over our guy's camera just last year with the boat. I mean, it just, you gotta have that awareness of where that thing is all the time. But we actually developed a bag several years ago that was a waterproof. Well, I never could. You talk about all the gear we use. I never could find that bag that I couldn't live without.
Yeah.
And so Dennis and I designed one, and we took some of the features of some other bags that we had utilized that we like, and we just made a backpack that was submergible, completely waterproof, an organized system inside of it that you could move around and separate things. It seemed like when you went waterproof, everything was in one pocket. And if you got the bag you wanted, it was never waterproof. And
Right.
we added tree straps and some various little different things that only a duck hunter would know what to do with. And that bag got pretty hot. We've been sold out. The bag is coming back the end of this year, but what we found is a lot of these camera guys were utilizing that bag.
Hmm.
And I mean, even the last two we brought in had the bag before we even knew who they were. But
Okay.
and that shared a lot of light on that project with us of how vital that was to have something like that. You could put your gear in and not worry about it getting wet
Yeah.
and keep it organized. So most of the guys come in, they have a good process for organizing all that stuff. But man, that cold, wet weather, it's gonna get you one day at some point in time. There's no avoiding it. It's gonna get you.
That's for
And we've
sure.
seen it grab a couple of our camera guys. So equipment certainly is something you got to keep an eye on. But as far as the people side of it, man, these guys, they've just been fantastic. And I hope I don't ruin my luck by saying that for next year. But in all honesty, I think the guy that worked with us this year is going to come back one more year. So we'll see how that works out. But great young man, and They just, like I said, we're catching them at that right time where they come out of that internship, and they're guys who are very passionate about the outdoors, and they just want to learn as much as they can. So very easy to work with. They know how to be concealed, and there aren't a lot of issues. It does create uh, you got an extra body, so you got to count on that for accommodations. Um, and I mean, that's another aspect when you talk about these guys being able to work everywhere or anywhere when they're done working with us. I mean, most of these guys have spent a lot of time sleeping in a truck, you know,
Mm,
and they've adapted some of our, you know, I carry one of the things I carry in my bag all the time is a hammock that you can
okay.
just tie up between two trees. So, and if I'm in an area like Texas here at home where if I find out it's a Thursday night or Friday morning and we're going to hunt it Saturday, you could just string up a hammock and stay. And these camera guys they love it. You know, it's just another camping trip, exciting
Yeah,
camping trip for them. So, again, we're very blessed to be able to have the guys that we've had involved with this project from day one. I mean, really, Brian, there hadn't been a lot of challenges with them at all. Uh,
that's great.
yeah, and we're not, you know, we don't pre-plan anything that we video. You know, and I think some people wish we did initially with Ben, and he's such a creative gentleman. And those first few videos we did with him were multiple hunts compiled into a story,
Hmm,
kind of something you pre-plan, and
sure.
it's still us doing what we do, but there was sort of a plan. We stay away from that now.
Yeah,
Uh, the quality is not as high. Uh, I mean, I shouldn't really say that. It's just not as cinematic, I guess you would
correct.
say.
Yeah,
It's more of
yep,
a real time. It just is what it is. If you don't
sure.
like watching a couple ding dong old men rednecks get their tail whooped trying to chase a duck and not killing anything, if you don't find that fun, it's probably not something you want to watch because it happens and we're going to air it.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
just try and put up as much real as we can. And again, it's to highlight, even when we don't kill anything, all you guys, all us guys working together on, you know, hunting ducks on public ground, it is work. And we want to bring attention and light to the great work that these guys do. Just trying to get an opportunity to shoot one mallard duck today.
Well, that realism really comes through, and I think that's why you guys have been so successful. It really connects with people, and they want to see that rawness. I mean, it's cool to see some cinematic stuff now and again,
Oh
but
yeah,
most of the guys they want to experience it like it's happening.
I appreciate that, and I think so. I think we can relate. I know I can. You know, I'd rather watch guys you never heard of that got after them. You know, I'll have guys all the time shoot me a link and say, "Hey, we recorded our video this weekend. Would you check it out?" And you know, it's great to see young,
Yeah,
passionate, energetic guys just getting after it. It's super cool. I find a lot of interest in that, especially versus somebody who's been watching these ducks and they've not had any pressure around them for 4 or 5 days to make sure they get a good episode for this week's show. You know,
right.
that's it's fine and it's cool, but it's not real where we're from,
Sure.
and that's just what it is.
Yeah. I think it was one of your more recent podcast episodes. Ben went into a little bit of, I think it was Ben, went into a little bit of his perspective from that side of it. It was pretty interesting as far as recording and everything.
Oh yeah, the more recent one was Cody. I mean, Jacob probably.
Okay.
Uh, but yes, we try and do one every year with the guy that films us. Um, just kind of share his perspective.
Yeah.
You know, these aren't guys typically that have done anything with us. We didn't know them from Adam, you know, when we started working together. So, and that in business, you know, that's always a difficult situation you're going from not knowing anybody at all to living in a truck with them essentially for
Right, right.
50, 60, 70, 80 days. So uh, you get tired of each other, and you get on each other's nerves. And but again, we've been blessed. These gentlemen have been very courteous, respectful young men, very eager to learn. And Dennis and I aren't that bad. Uh, we're we may be old and stubborn, but we're not that bad. And we try and take care of our guys. So, but
Yeah,
it's always fun for me doing that podcast that you're talking about because
sure.
sometimes things pop out of that you didn't realize. In fact, he said on that podcast that bag he had bought before. I didn't even know that was the case during the year.
Mm,
I didn't know that until after the season. So there are
yeah,
things that come to light that you weren't aware of, and it helps us do what we do better and build relationships better down the road when we know some of the things that prove to be challenging for these guys.
yeah,
And yeah, so it's a fun project for sure to do that.
yeah. And I
Thank you
think it
for
was.
taking time to listen to that.
Oh yeah, no problem. I just couldn't remember the name, but I think you're right. It was Jacob. I think he mentioned the intern program too, Midwest Whitetail.
That's right.
I I've done a lot of media on the whitetail side, so I know Bill Winke, who used to own that, and trying to remember who bought him out of that. But
Yeah, they sold out
that's
recently, didn't they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great program they've got over there. As you know, they pump out some great editors, some great cameramen. It's impressive.
It really is, and it's young guys like them that are doing a lot of the work that they get to learn from. So they have some strong communication skills amongst one another. Being in that same age group, you're right. Even though it's not waterfowl, uh, their work ethic coming out of that program, and I'm eager to see what kind of happens to that now that that's a different ownership. But yeah, they produce some high quality guys out of that program for sure. Grant Noble is a guy who's worked for us a couple times. He came out of that program, such a talented young man, and
Yeah,
and uh, and Jacob did too. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Well, every one of them has, but they all have very strong work ethic. Different different characteristics of all of them. Certainly, they're different people. Some of them have different strengths and obviously weaker in different areas, but all of them have a really great work ethic.
that's great. Yeah, I think they would have trouble otherwise at going through that program if they didn't, from what I hear.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I'm not gonna lie to you. First few years that we started doing this, we always slept in the truck. So I really want. It was really. I was really eager to see who would stick around.
Hmm.
And we never lost one. They
Yeah, that's
didn't
great.
care, man. They didn't care. We've slept. Where I can, I'll start a fire. I got cots. We'd sleep on cots. It'd be 20 degrees. You're in a sleeping bag by a fire. It's like watching Yellowstone, sitting out in the woods and a little snow falling and all for a mallard duck. And
Hmm.
uh, we found ways to be more comfortable over the years. We put tents on top of both our trucks, which were, man, I love those things.
Yeah,
Anywhere you're at, you just pop a couple buttons and you got a tent off the ground, out of the mud, uh, and they're very easy to put up and down. And then, uh, you know, we are older gentlemen. Truck seats are a little rougher on our backs than they used to be,
that's
and
for sure.
we used to have setups in the bed of our truck too. That way, the camera guy, we could always navigate a generator with a heating blanket or a propane heater, whatever we had to do. We could get comfortable, but in one of the areas we frequent, Dennis bit the bullet and bought a cabin. He knew when he retired he'd like to have something like that he could spend time with, and we know our days are numbered.
Yeah,
Uh, So that happened about 4 years ago. So when we're in this state, in that area, we get to stay at that cabin. It's got a boat dock and nice situation. And then we've developed some great relationships over the years with people that we share time with. And so a lot of states that we visit now, we're blessed to have very good people who, don't mind us staying with them or in some accommodation that they've got there, which makes it a lot better. For me and Dennis, it's no big deal. We'll do what we need to do. But like you said, if you got a camera guy with you, you do want to make it as easy as you can. It's not always easy to make it very easy, but yeah, I thought early on for sure we wouldn't be able to keep any of these guys around, and that was
Mm.
not the case with that 41 North bunch. Man, they were all have camera, will travel, bro. You
Right.
just this is where we're going. They all in.
Mm.
That's great. Yeah, I turned 50 in October, and I found this 6-inch memory foam mattress that I can put on top of my cot, and I spent a week in the back of my truck in Nebraska chasing blue-winged teal around. And I tell you, man, it's when you're in your 20s, you could lay down on the dirt there and
Right.
go hunt all day. But now I got to have those creature comforts.
I ain't far ahead of you. I'm about to turn 55.
Okay.
And you're right. And it's back then, like you said, it don't matter. I'll hit the dirt. I'll be fine. I can lay up against a tree, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I still enjoy a nap, but sleeping all night in the cold on the ground or in the back of a truck is a little harder on me. So, and there are a lot of little things you could do to make a huge difference,
Oh
like
yeah.
your memory foam you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they made a blow up mattress that you could put in the back of your seat that has a little drop down there that goes between your front seat and your back seat, and then it wraps over the top.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And that's a inexpensive way to really gain an advantage there too. We had that in the back seat of both the trucks before we had the tents on, and yeah, we've experienced kind of played around with cots and just memory foam on boards and. But yeah, just more gear we're adding to the back of that truck.
Yeah, it's always the battle. So you mentioned before about your Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to hear a little bit about your faith journey because that's super important to me. I'm a Christian. I try to bring it up as much as I can on the podcast, not to, shove it down anybody's throat, but it's just a big part of my life, and I'm proud of it. And I love to share this platform with fellow Christians and even witness to maybe some future Christians.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I appreciate your perspective too. When I was in management, Brian, I had an opportunity to follow a path of elevation as I worked very hard to honor those I worked for and him, of course, too. And I chose to instead move sideways a lot into other areas of our business. And only I felt like if I'm going to run anything, I should know everything about every aspect of it. That's something
Right.
that's always been valuable to me. I've worked for a lot of people in middle management in that company before I myself moved up that really didn't know a lot about what was going on around them.
Mm-hmm.
And I never wanted that to be the case with me. But I realized a bigger part of that for me was, in fact, I kind of like being that guy that just, I like to work. I like to work a lot. I like to work hard. The concept of being behind a desk never appealed to me. I would rather be in the field doing stuff. Uh, but at some point, I came to the realization that there are more important things. Enjoy the journey is our Dr. Duck deal, but that
Love it.
saying actually came from my professional career.
Hmm.
It's something with one of the owners of our company that we talked about a lot. And I realized that what good is what I do? Obviously, we got to pay the bill, got to pay rent, got to feed the kiddos. But when you get past that, I really felt like I was one of those guys. I can have fun and I can enjoy anything I do, any kind of work. Whether it was working on the farm afterwards or working during the day or during the night, I can make it fun. I can have a good time doing it. What really struck me as uh, important was how many people can you impact. So me making it fun for me is one thing. When you talk about light, being a light, having others who may have not have been as happy about what they were doing see you happy doing what you do. When you talk about having the opportunity on with your platform and this podcast, not to shove it down anyone's throat, but to talk about it, I too was very offended when people tried to shove things down my throat.
Hmm.
And I never thought of that. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. It just wasn't me, and I didn't. It's not something that I believed in. But it was very easy for me to start a conversation when someone come up that said, "You know what? Hey, Mr. Campbell, why in the world you out here at 3 a.m. chasing us around, handling these issues, making sure everybody doing what they need to do, and you just happy as a lark? How in the world is that possible?" And it always provided such a great opportunity for, you know what? Let me tell you how.
Hmm.
And I just think that being grateful for the opportunities that we're provided is a big deal. And my professional career there, I realized that taking that office job, getting involved in more departments, I got to a point in that company where I was responsible for 212 employees and 250 contractors. So I had huge opportunity for impact, and I felt like that was what was more important than anything else. And we carried that same enjoy the journey philosophy into this and kind of expanded on it, getting into the love your neighbor thing. And, uh, it just, our world is so crazy, as you're well aware, Brian. And, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not I can remember my grandmother. I mentioned I'm 55, but I remember being a young man and my grandmother talking about how close the end was.
Hmm.
And it's funny to me actually now because I'm kind of becoming my grandma. I don't know if it's as we get older, but can you imagine my grandmother or one of your grandparents who was thinking that way in the 70s, what they would think of what's going on in our world today?
Yeah, for sure.
And if you sit and try to just have a general conversation with someone, and if you were going to try to explain why this is happening or why these bad things would, look, there are a number of things, and I'm not saying this for any, I just say the trafficking thing that's become, there's been a lot of light shed on that.
Sure.
How do you explain something like that happening?
Hmm.
The only explanation that I can come up with is there is evil. There's evil out there.
For sure.
There are evil people. There's a lot of it I don't understand fully, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. I just know it ain't good, and we need good people. And Dennis and I have been passionate about this industry for 30 years, and being on public land, it's not that private tank we talk about. You get to stack the birds up where you're gonna hunt, you ain't gonna run into nobody tomorrow. We're gonna run into a lot of people, even if we're not hunting around them. We're gonna run into them at the boat ramp. We're gonna run into them on the rivers. We may run into them at a duck hole. I think we should carry ourselves a certain way. That way should be respectful, and it really should. I think the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor, to treat him like you would like to be treated. Uh,
Amen.
and we work very hard to not only talk about that, and we ain't shoving it down nobody's throat. The biggest thing that we can do is make sure we act it out. And I have watched my hunting partner Dennis act that out for a very, very long time.
Hmm.
Uh, before we ever started talking about it. And it's something I've always admired. He gets on my main nerve. By the end of the year, he's all over. I mean,
Really pushing that love thy neighbor stuff towards the end.
he, but he is. I saw a guy comment on social media one year. This was several years back. And you know what? I am thankful for where I am. I am thankful for the great life the Lord has blessed me. I live a very modest life. I have a very small house, very small amount of bills. Like I said, I'm semi-retired because I don't have a lot of bills, and that's what I can do. Uh, I have watched this guy made this post. I try and stay out of all that. I don't want to say I wouldn't say anything online that ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
I may think it, you know what? God
Right.
forgive me for thinking that. I definitely ain't posting it. There are a lot of people out there for whatever reason say terrible things. And they posted this picture of Dennis up, and it was after a year of too many snacks, and he's looking a little heavy, and they said something along the lines of this guy couldn't even get to a duck hole, much less hunt a real duck hole in public. You know, some stupid.
Right.
And I would never call you out publicly. So I just messaged this cat and I said, look, I just want to let you know I saw that post. And not only does that guy do that, but if you were in a bind and couldn't get in or out of the same hole he was hunting, he'd carry you on his back.
Hmm.
And that is God's honest truth. He is as passionate about this for everybody else as he is himself. And I've watched that for more than 30 years. And that is the glue. No matter what happens, how mad I get or how frustrated I get sometimes, and we all get frustrated with our friends, you know,
For
it happens.
sure.
I'll never forget his passion and his respect for others. And I'd never be anywhere else doing what I do with anybody else, just because of that. So when we talk about what we say about it's one thing, act in that manner, uh, when you're in the middle of everybody else and it gets a little heated, it's very important. I watch him do that, and it's just important to us. I love this sport. I have grandkids now that we're starting to. One's about to be 4. It won't be very long. I'll be introducing him into this lifestyle. Both my boys spent their entire life growing up in this lifestyle, and you look at bird numbers, you look at our way of life, and all the crazy things going on in this planet. People that want to eliminate guns, and how much longer before we will not be able to travel at all to a neighboring state and hunt because they feel like a federally regulated migratory bird that isn't even from their state should be shot by somebody that doesn't live there.
Hmm.
Makes no sense to me at all, especially if you're using federal funds to
Sure.
keep that ground up. Whole nother issue. I think we have a lot of work to do to make sure this way of life stays around. And all these guys are saying you need to quit talking. You shouldn't share so much. You're ruining our sport.
Hmm.
They are selfish, greedy, and the sport will disappear if that mindset does not go away.
That's a
And
good point.
I do think there are things we could stay away from sharing. But overall, we need to get people excited about this, man. Somebody
For
killing
sure.
their first duck, having that first big day where you just limit out in 5 minutes, or having that experience that I tend to have frequently where we break something and spend the entire time we're out there just trying to get home.
Yeah.
It's all a great memory that I'm very thankful for. It's all part of that journey. And I would like for my grandkids and their friends to have all the opportunities to experience this that we've been blessed with. And I know I stacked a bunch of stuff up there. Sorry about that, but that's
No, I
just
appreciate you going into all that.
kind of where we're at with it. I fall short, Brian. We all do. We're all sinners. I know you're aware of
Absolutely.
that. But the answer to your question is I fall very short, and I know that. And my life has been one that I lost my dad at an early age.
Hmm.
Uh, my great uncle, we all moved south to be with my great uncle, and I lost him the next year, my grandfather next, my grandmother after that. My mom's still around, but I lost my son last year.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of loss through my lifetime, and it's important for us to stay thankful, uh, to stay grateful, to know that we're in the best country on the planet. We're blessed with a lot of great opportunities, and we all just need to get along and make the most of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, people that come and are called to Christ for the first time, they have a lot of questions, and I think you summed it up wonderfully by focusing on love thy neighbor. If you focus on that, you kind of take care of everything else. You're not going to want to be treating your friend badly or ripping off somebody in business. You just stick with that mantra, and the world will definitely be a better place.
Yeah, you're right. You have a lot of questions, and a lot I still have, and you hear this, what would Jesus do? Uh, I I've tried and tried to answer that question in a lot of situations, and I feel like even on my best day when I think I nailed it, I probably got it wrong.
Hmm.
I I, I don't know. Uh, what I do know is that if I take time to talk to him, and if I treat everyone with the same amount of respect that I would like to be treated with, I feel like a lot of things work out. Don't
Absolutely.
always work out the way I want them to,
Right.
but
Right.
they work out.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you getting into that. That's like I said, a side that I try to bring attention to on this podcast. I mean, we all love to talk about waterfowl, and we're blessed to do so many things. So thank you for going into that.
Oh, I appreciate you bringing it up, man. No sweat.
So I always have to ask, you have a favorite hunt that you can remember, or maybe just a crazy hunting story that sticks out that you like to share?
I got millions, so many. I always answer that question uh, with the real answers, all of them.
Okay.
I could pick. There are times I took my youngest son fishing. He and I went out fishing with his cousin Saturday. Terrible day to fish. Crappie had moved up last week. It was 80 degrees. Everything was perfect. Friday, a big storm hit, dumped a bunch of cold water in the lake. The wind, 30-mile-an-hour winds. It just, so I took the boat and we ran up in the river, and we were blessed enough to find some sand bass and some other fish still running the river, not as impacted as what the big lake was for fish like crappie. So, and we found some success and caught, I don't know, 20, 30 fish up in there. But
Is that the fish that you posted?
oh, yes,
Does it
sir.
look like a striped bass almost?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Little hybrid. Uh,
Gotcha.
but those young men, Patrick had brought up a story, and he was saying, "You remember this?" And I could not. Couldn't remember it to save my life
Hmm.
until he mentioned one key element. And I said, "You know what? I remember that element." But that's kind of how it is with me. Like entire hunts in their entirety, I may not. But it seems
Right.
like every time you go, there's one little thing that happens that kind of you hold on to as a memory. And you remember that time we were hunting, which could apply to any hunt you're ever on, and this happened. But I think when I try to drill down and I try to say, well, what if you had to pick, what really was the best hunt? And then you start thinking, well, the best hunt as far as camaraderie, the best hunt as far as limits.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weed through all that, I really don't think limits ever dictate what are the best hunt. And
That's for sure.
I mentioned, uh, I lost my oldest son this year right before the season started, and this was the answer to that question before that happened. But he was a different kind of cat. Uh, he served in our military in the 2nd Ranger Battalion for a long time and was a very unique individual. When we were young, I mentioned us not having a lot of money. I was 20 something. He was 10 probably. So I may have been coming up on 30. Anyway, he and Dennis went scouting here in East Texas, and we found a pretty significant number of ducks. And it was a moderately warm day. We were just in jeans and shirts, maybe a lightweight jacket for him. And anyway, we found a few ducks. We get home and we're getting everything together for the next day. And he says, "What time we leaving tomorrow?" I said, "You can't go. We don't have waiters. You got to have waiters. Temperature's going to get down to 40s, low 40s. It'll warm up, but the water is going to be cold. It's not a great situation." And he's 10 years old. He says, "No, I'm going." And this is my first son. I admit I probably wasn't very smart and probably inappropriate in a lot of situations with my young men growing up. Hindsight, I feel, is very valuable, especially, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But I let him talk me into it. And we had times where Dennis and I had hunted without waders in a pickle where you find some and decide to go on and hunt them. And I knew we weren't going to kill the young man. It's just going to be a terribly uncomfortable situation for him. And that kid went. And he was in boots, blue jeans, and a jacket. And we waded through there at 4:30 in the morning on public ground, and nobody was in this area. And we didn't see anything but a handful of wood ducks that day. And Dennis on one side, me on the other, we had to help that young man come out of that duck hole because he was locking up, getting pretty cold, and got him undressed, brought extra clothes for him, and put him back in the truck. And he was asleep immediately. Slept all the way home, slept all afternoon, and he never quit talking about how much fun he had on that trip. And we didn't pull the trigger. Not a single mallard we saw in that hole came back the next day for whatever reason, who knows. But just the fact of us sharing that time and him going through what he did and us working together to get him back as quick as we could before anything bad did happen. And fast forward to 20 years down the road from that. It wasn't even 20 years after he got through. When he joined the military, he told me when he walked in, he says, "If they don't give me a Ranger contract, I'm not joining." And I said, "Well, it's your decision to make. You're about to be 18. I support whatever decision you make." He come back out and he said, I joined. I said, "So they gave you a Ranger contract?" He said, "Nope." He said, he sat there and told me less than 1% gentlemen that get into the Army make it into a Ranger battalion, and I wouldn't be that guy. And I told him, yes, I would, and I'll go ahead and sign up and prove it. It's like, all right, big dog. He had that invitation before he got out of boot camp. And he reached out to me after RASP, which is like, I guess, kind of like the BUDS program for the SEALs.
Sure.
After he got through RASP, he reached out and he said, he brought up that time going in that slough without any waders on. And he talked about how whiny all these guys he was around were in the military. Said not only they not know how to use guns, they just whine all the time. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I was doing this when I was 10. He said, "I just want to thank you that duck hunting with you and Dennis all these years has better prepared me for everything I'm doing.
That's great.
Anything else I could have ever done." So obviously for a lot of reasons, that story probably boils down to being my favorite. But there again, it's one of them hunts. You don't shoot a single duck, and it ends up being one of your most memorable, favorite things you'll never forget. Crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, me and my family certainly appreciate your son's service, and My dad was an Army Ranger. It's a special breed, I'll tell you.
Well, your dad's a great man. I got to all them guys are, and I bet he is hard on you.
Yeah, I wanted to do the same thing as him. I wanted to join the Army and jump out of planes, and he went through Vietnam and everything that came with that, and he says, "Why don't you go in the Air Force?" He didn't want me to go in the Army, so I
So
ended up
did
going
you
in the Air Force. But
did you work?
it was a good decision.
Thank you very much for your service. You
Yes,
guys
sir.
true heroes, man. All of you are, and not respected enough. And I know every one of you hate hearing that.
Oh yeah,
My son made sure he said, whatever you do, don't tell anybody thank you for
yeah,
your service when you're up here. Because I used to go hang out with him all the time.
yep.
And, I enjoy the company of those other heroes that he hung out with. And that veteran hunt I was talking about, it's something they wanted to put together. I brought in 8 guys that served in the same capacity with my son at
Hmm.
some tenure or some part of their tenure with the military. So getting to share that time with those, all you guys are, and we love you guys so much, and we understand wartime or not how valuable you are to our safety and keeping us able to do the great things that we do here. And I was never man enough to do that. And again, I'm very very thankful for you and everyone who's served in that capacity. Thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that wasn't enough for my mom. I had to get into law enforcement for the last 30 years after I got out. So,
Man, you glutton for punishment, ain't you?
yeah, I got, when I get to be your age, I'll be able to hang it up. I got to get 4 more years.
Well, good. I that's another. That I can't imagine being in that line of work. Not so much now, I guess, as 5 or 6 years ago. You guys, there are a lot of people hollering. I don't understand any of that. I'm very
Yeah.
thankful for what you do,
Thank you.
and
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. I mean,
yeah,
that stuff that went on for so many years, a couple years back, that's really damaged the law enforcement recruitment. And I don't know who's going to step up, but hopefully God will provide the people that we need for those jobs.
that's a great point. It's something a lot of people don't think about, man. Why
Hmm.
would anybody want to get into that after watching what happened?
Right. And that's what's happened
It's yeah, like you said, another conversation, but God will provide, and
for sure.
we'll see. I'm sure things will change a bit, but kudos to you for toughing it out for so long, and in your area. I've actually got a buddy who kind of same career path, but he ended up moving to Texas just because of that.
Mhm.
It was a little different in some of our areas here, and I'm sure it's like that around the world. You got some areas better than others,
Yeah, absolutely.
but anyway, thank you for what you do, Brian. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Well, I have a whole list of other stuff. I'm going to have you back on the show. I've already taken up over an hour of your time, but Billy, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much
You're, you're
for
gonna get
making
off.
it on.
You're gonna get off here and need a nap, man. You're like that dude would not shut up. What in the world?
I think my brother's got some more work for me, so that won't be happening.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Well, Brian, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm sorry if I get carried away. I
No,
really
I
love
love it.
I love what we do, and what you guys do, and all of us are doing as a team. And this, there's so many different podcasts and social media channels that you can look up and find that same content you talked about earlier. And it's nice. It's good. We do. We're all very passionate about this, and we should be sharing that passion and creating opportunities to grow relationships through that. And you're well aware of the great bonds that you can grow outdoors, and so I'm thankful for what you do and
No question.
why you do it. Thank you for that. And anytime, man, anytime you're ready to get your headphones talked off side of your head, you just hit me back.
Yeah, I appreciate what you guys do as well. And take a minute and let everybody know where they can find you and Dr. Duck and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, thank you for that. DrDuck.com is our website where we have links to all our social media. and the YouTube stuff. And we're the YouTube is Dr. Duck YouTube channel, and of course we have the podcast, the Dr. Duck Waterfowl podcast. But again, all those links are included right there at drduck.com. So if you want to learn more, it kind of explains where we came from, what channels are available to follow our journey on, and that's it, man.
I appreciate it. Just hang on for a second after we disconnect here so we can get you uploaded. And thanks again for making the time.
Yes, sir.